Good morning, all of you. Today we will discuss federal tax applicable in United States. We will move straight into the discussion who is required to file a tax return. There is a threshold limit. There is a blanket limit. By touching that, anything above that, then the person is required to pay the tax or claim the refund and file the tax return. That threshold limit is known as standard deduction. And there are two categories. Normal people, they will get a regular standard deduction limit. If anything below that, need not worry about filing tax. They need not. And there are certain category the US government giving additional limit. Who are those categories? Senior citizen, a person whose age is 65 or older, or who is blind. They're getting some additional consideration. If a person whose age is 70 years, then they will get the regular standard deduction plus the extra privileges of additional standard deduction. If their income below, then no need to worry about. But if their income touch the threshold limit, then such peoples has to compute the tax. Either they have to pay the tax or claim the refund. Form number. What is the form? Individual form number is there. Individual taxpayer form number is form 1040. Form 1040. Next moves into the due date for filing return of income. What is the due date which is available for individual taxpayers? Before moves into the due date, we must understand the taxable year. Taxable year is nothing a calendar year. When a calendar will start on the 1st January and end on 31st December. Next day we will celebrate New Year. For paying tax, government will waiting for patiently 3 months and 15 days. A time period is given for the taxpayers. A grace period is granted by the federal government to compute the tax aramse or refunds and file the tax return in form 1040 by April 15th. It's a default due date. Tax has to be paid. There is no other alternative. You have to pay the tax on or before April 15th. However, certain unforeseen circumstances, some people may be busy with something else. They may be require the additional time. They may be require the additional time for filing the return of income. It is possible under federal tax laws. They can file on extended date of 6 months. For that, what they have to do is they have to file a form 4868 on April 15th for claiming the extension. Though the word is automatic extension, it is actually not an automatic way. They have to file form 4868 for extension. Provided they have to pay the tax, then only they will be eligible for the extended filing. These are the two dates we should be remember. By default date is April 15th. Extended date is October 15th, subjected to certain criteria, certain conditions. Now we will move into the type of return. How many type of returns are available in United States of America? There are five categories of returns are available. Mainly is the marital status. Marital status is very important. Let's discuss one by one. Single return, married return. Married have an option. If the couple lives happily, they can file the return jointly. What is an advantages for filing the joint return is they will get they will get double standard deductions. Their tax rate may be lower. US government want the couples together. So they're giving such kind of privileges. Single returns are always costly. They only will get the single blanket amount of standard deductions. Their tax rate may be higher. They try to discourage actually. But unfortunately, there are single people. We will discuss that. The next category is the qualifying widower, and we will discuss that in a deep dive. And the head of household. Let us move into the concept one by one. This is a diagrammatic explanations of the various filing status available in United States of America. So who is single? We are taking 31st December as a cutoff date. If a person remain as unmarried on that date, or that date a person legally separated, he was married before, but that partner is not with him, legally they are moved to two different dimensions. Such people are regarded as single, and return filed by those peoples are known as single return. Next, married. Same year end test is applicable here. End of the year 31st December, a person is married, or worse, there are people who lives together. Living together also eligible provided they are under the regularized mechanism of they are regularized living together. That is permissible. Legally recognized common law of married. Or this divorce process, this couples has to live apart at least for 6 months. They have to live apart. Then there may be some counseling. That also not reconciled. Then these people will moves legally separated. So these couples living apart, there may be still a hope. This 6 month period, still a hope. They may be separated or they may be again united. Legal living apart but not legally separated also comes under the marriage category, and the return filing jointly. When the couples files return jointly, they are in harmonious relationship. Obviously, they will file the return jointly. They will claim the tax benefits. But certain circumstances, these couples living in a process of divorce, they won't. They won't file the return jointly. They will file the return separately. Then some cases, one spouse maybe have an income. My other partner need not see that income. It may be some purpose. The confidentiality reasons. I need to maintain the confidentiality of that income. It may be illegal income, it may be the income come from drug business, or it maybe comes from, we can't say the sources. I am earning income. That other partner need not know. If leaking those confidentiality will sabotage me, in such situation, I am married. I don't want to disclose that with my parent, my spouse. I will file a return separately. These are the situations where the married people file return separately. Next, we will move into the qualifying widower. Widower is the circumstances in the marriage process. Any of the spouse may be expire. There may be death. Death incidents will be there. During the process of marriage, obviously, we maybe know that there may be children who may be depending on the spouse, two spouses. These children may be depending. Child always depends on the parents only. So one spouse has expired during the taxable year. The federal government is giving certain consideration. They need some time to moving on. They require some time for moving on. So government is giving a benefit. How they were filed a joint return, what benefit they obtained. in filing joint return, how it is, what rate it is taxed, the same way, same benefit the federal government is giving for this qualifying widower only for 2 years. After 2 years, this 2 years period is enough for them for moving ahead and taken care of the child who depending the spouse, surviving spouse. What are the conditions for that? The surviving spouse has to taken care, has to contribute more than half of the expense of the depending child. So let us see this. Half of the household expense of the depending child has to be met by the taxpayer, the surviving spouse. Child, obviously, child require care of parents. So the child need to stay with the taxpayer throughout the year. There is no question of this child, we are giving it in something else. No, that is not possible. This is a main important condition. Dependent child should stay with the taxpayer throughout the year. These two conditions, if met, they will fall under the qualifying widower and they can enjoy the status for 2 taxable year following the death of the spouse. It's a very important concept, and now we will just see the diagrammatic depiction of the dependent child examples. Who is a dependent child? It may be my own biological child. Sometime there may be children who may be adopted. The couples not have a child on the marriage relationship, they may be adopted. Stepchild. All those falls under the dependent child category, and the foster child. Foster means in a disaster, in a natural calamity, in a war phase, they may be orphan. So there are some trained people, they are well trained to brought up the children. They are specialized training, they taken care of the child. Some recognized agencies maybe there are NGOs, UNO have a lot of such agencies. They hand overing this child responsibility and they pay the fee for the expenses of the child. They will give a fee for this service, this caregiving services. So they are getting some additional benefit out of that. In such situations, in dependent child definition, foster childs are excluded. So let us sum up the conditions for claiming qualifying widower. That person has to contribute more than half of the expense of the household of the dependent child, and the child has to stay, by default has to stay throughout the taxable year with the surviving spouse. Now we will move into the final segment of filing status. Head of household. Head of household. The word head. In their head, responsibilities of the houses are running off. Who are the eligible people? We already seen lot of things. In order to eligible, it's eligible for the unmarried people. We seen in single written category, unmarried people or legally separated people, or take the last 6 months from the end of the taxable year. Those couples are living separately. They will be in the process of separation. They are eligible. These three categories. Then taxpayer should not be a qualifying widower. Why? Because it is covered under a separate filing status. So they are ineligible for that. They are ineligible actually. Then taxpayer should be the resident citizen of United States of America. They are not non-resident aliens. Aliens are not the other globe people, not from the other globes. they, if any person who is not citizen of US is termed as aliens, the final condition is very important. Head of household. Final condition is that he has a house. In a house, there are lot of expenses such as rent, mortgage interest, cost of food, lot of expense. He is running the show of the house, heading the house. Along with him, some qualified peoples are maybe the dependent children lives with him, or the dependent parents maybe lives with him, or any other dependent relatives maybe lives with him. That place is a principal place of residence for this qualified. We will discuss that who are eligible qualified people for more than half of the taxable year. In a year, 12 months, the person stays more than 6 months with the taxpayer. Then, if the taxpayer meets, he contribute more than half of the living expenses, actual expenses of the qualified people for taking care of their needs. Government is giving larger tax benefit, lower tax rate, and the larger standard deductions are provided for such people who actually responsible people who running the show, who's taken care of the peoples with them. Government is also supporting them, who giving cares to the needed people. Government is supporting them. So let us sum up who are eligible in this category. It's an unmarried people, or legally separated people, or in the process of separation. We're taking the test of year end from last 6 months of the taxable year also covered. Here we need a deep dive on head of household. See this picture. There may be a child picture and a grand lady picture is there. So with the taxpayer, qualified people will believe with them. Let's goes into the definition of qualified people, qualified relatives. Child. Here, own child, adopted child, stepchild, which already seen in the qualified widower we seen. Foster child are included here for qualified relatives. Brothers and sisters of same grandparents are also included. Then there is one exception. We have seen that more than half of the taxable year should be leave with the taxpayer. There is an exemption for the dependent parents. Why? I'm a working person. We take an example of Israel. Israel is the place most of the caregivers from India they are moving into Israel. Their home only the old aged peoples are there. Their children may be working in some elsewhere. These people, these caregivers will taken care these old aged people, giving medicines on time, cooking for them. My parents require additional care, extra care for that purpose. And I am not in a position because I'm a working person and because of my hectic work schedules, I'm not in a position to take care of my parents. They require extra care, so I'm making sending them a nursing home like that, or I'm maintaining a home for them and caregiver services. I'm paying the cost of lot of cost is there if I maintain a house, mortgage interest, rent, food cost, medicine cost of supplies are there. If I contribute more than half of those cost. If I contribute more than half of this cost, this dependent parents is not required to be stayed with the taxpayer. In all other cases, living with the taxpayer is essential for more than half of the taxable year. And we will just go sum up into who are the dependent persons. Maybe my grandfather or grandmother, brother, sister, uncle, and a lot of forms of close relationship. And my dependent parents. So leave with the taxpayer and qualifying dependent, this diagrammatic view, except for the dependent parents. Other peoples are required to stay with the taxpayer. Now let's move further deep dive record for qualified relative definitions. Just remember the acronym, the keyword of chaos. He may be the close relative. We are discussing now qualifying child, close relative. My child, my son, my daughter will be so close to me. My stepson, my adopted son, all those categories will come. Age limit. My son, if I'm taken care, up to the age of 19, to claim that child status, he should be under the age of 19. Sometimes, see, after the age of 19, only some people's getting some more. They require some wisdom. They're getting conscious about future careers, so they may be studying full-time courses on a recognized university. For them, 24 years. Some extension of age is given for this higher educations. Government promote higher educations, so extension of age of 24 is available. This age limit test is important for test for the child and resident of United States of America. Why US government is paying benefit for a person who is not the citizen of United States of America? Should be the citizen of US or Canada or Mexico. Child elimination of gross income. Why parents is responsible for taking care of the child, not the child income. The show must be run. Sometimes the child maybe do the part-time job and they will taken care of their needs. They will maintain the car or girlfriends, customs in US. We are not taken consideration of any income limit as far as this child category considered child. We excluded any income test. But the last test is support. If the child contribute more than half of his actual expenses, then fallout is out from the purview of dependent child. Next, other people, other qualified people, what are the tests? We should understand the keyword of support. Support. Taxpayer has to contribute more than half of the living expense. We already seen a lot of example of rent, mortgage, etc. For them, this income test is applicable. If my dependent relatives earn income, he have there is a threshold limit. He earning above that, then he don't want my support. Actually, he's already independent. We need not taken care of them. So if touch that limit, then disqualified. Citizen of US, we already discussed. Government is promoting only the citizen of US or Canada or Mexico. If any person who is not a citizen, then straight they are ineligible. Then the relatives, we already seen the relatives, close people's grandfather, grandmother, uncle, niece, brother, sisters, lot of forms of close relationships. He should be the close relative and he has to stay with the taxpayer at least more than half of the taxable year that we discuss, more than half of the taxable year, and there is an exceptions only for the dependent parents. There may be non-relative peoples, foster parents, who is not at all my relative, is not at all my relative. But I am running the show. I am eating the expense of them. If I have a girlfriend who is stay with me throughout the year, throughout the year, 365 days throughout the year, this non-relative people is stay with me. I'm running the show. I'm meeting the expense of them. In my head only their responsibility. So government is giving. They are also comes under the qualified relatives. So this is our today discussion, and let us sum up our discussion and have a wonderful day ahead.